Video is all about things to consider before building up your workstation for editing or color grading using Resolve. This video will include all the tips and tricks for your 4K deliverables, which means I will be talking about all the configuration details which will support the 4K workflow. So first things first, OS. So there are three major OS which is going around for Resolve for various purposes. So we have Mac, we have Windows, and we have Linux. So you need to decide which OS you are going to go for before building a workstation. If you are going for Linux workflow, so there should be someone with you who knows a proper coding to set up a workflow or to maintain Davinci Resolve in Linux. Second thing is motherboard. So motherboard is a kind of important thing and you can also think as a futuristic one. Multiple PCLE slots, which means you can have multiple graphic cards as well as a capture and playback card. For example, if you want to have for color grading artists, if they want a proper grading monitor or they are having a proper projectors. So the motherboard should support these things. To have a Thunderbolt 3 support, which because you're going to have a higher end storages, which is around 60 or 80 TB storages. So it is highly recommended to go for a Thunderbolt 3 because it is future proof also, and currently Thunderbolt 3 is booming. Processors. So processors are critical. So Davinci Resolve basically works with all combined. For example, your processing power, your RAM, and your GPU. Since this configuration is about video based, which means editing or color grading, how many cores, how many threads your processor is having is a very important thing. For example, you have heard about quad core. You have heard about now 6 core, 8 core, 12 core, 18 cores. There are cores which defines your video playback performance. So if you're having a 4 core and you're running a 4K, no, it is not possible. You should at least have a 8 core or to 10 core to run a 4K video without any kind of lag or any kind of glitches. So that is a must, and I prefer that 10 core machine. RAM. So RAM again plays an important role. So basically we consider even for example 32 GB RAM or higher. So I mostly prefer 64 GB RAM for a high-end color grading workflows, which will include tons and tons of, minutes and hours of content in a single timeline, which is I prefer 64 GB or 128 GB. For example, people who say my total timeline will be around maximum 20 to 30 minutes. I prefer 64 GB or 32 GB for editing as well as color grading. For more 1 hour or 2 hour, I prefer 128 GB, and including Fusion also 128 GB is recommended. Storage. Storage again is a very important factor in this system building. For example, you have a very good laptop which is having 8 gigs of graphic card, 16 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM or an i7 processor, but still your laptop doesn't perform well. For example, you can't boot a laptop in 15 seconds or 10 seconds. It takes a minute or two, and you have to wait to load all the apps. So this is because of the storage inside. So HDD, hard disk drive. So this storage is basically slower, very slow. For example, there are different types like RPM, 5000 RPM, 7000 RPM is the highest as of now in HDD. But that is okay for a normal purpose, for video viewing or photo viewing. But for video, 4K and high-end color grading and editing workflows, I prefer SSD, solid state drive, or M.2 or RAID storages. So I'll explain these things. For example, you have a hard disk, basic HDD hard disk, which you bought for 1 TB, which is 1 TB, and you bought it for 5 to 6,000. So when you try to copy through USB 3.0, and it copies in around maximum of 80 Mbps. But if your 80 Mbps, but if your system is SSD and you are going to use an SSD drive outside, it is going to be around 500 Mbps. So it's like 10 times faster. So RAID storage is basically for high-end post-production company who have like everything, color grading, VFX, everything inbuilt, and you will be doing movies or contents on daily basis. But you can also have a minimal of 2 TB or 1 TB of SSD in your hand, and you can do a portable 4K or 4K editing or color grading. And I would also suggest, if you're going for a starting setup, Blackmagic has a device called multi-dock, which can have 4 SSDs, which is 4 TB, or you can go up to 4 TB or 8 TB, and you can use it as a drive for a faster data rates. For editors, for whoever is going for 4K editing, so 4K editing has different types, like you're going for short documentaries or complete documentaries or short films or live production, multicam production, which you edit in post, and you do a complete feature film. So if you need a proper keyboard, mostly editors will prefer a keyboard rather than a mouse. So we have a Davinci Resolve editor keyboard. So we'll have a brief definition or introduction about the keyboard in future videos. And secondly, for color grading artists, so for the guys using a mouse and a keyboard to do a color grading on a daily basis is a very hard time for them. So you can prefer a panel, color grading panel. So we have 3 different panels with Blackmagic design, and we have third-party brands also support Davinci Resolve for color grading. Blackmagic design has its very own panels, 3 different panels. One is micro and mini panel and an advanced panel. Okay, micro panel has primary gradings. So once you go to the color page, you have your lift, gamma, gain, and below that you have your saturation, midtones. And those primary tools we have it built in micro panel, and in mini panel we have some of the secondary color corrections also. So for example, you have your primaries, plus you have your open effects, you have your window tools, you have your qualifiers, everything built in mini panel. And your advanced panel is completely, and it's like your software is in your hotkeys. So it's a complete transformation of software into hotkeys, the advanced panel. So you can choose according to your budget, and you can work out. Graphic cards. So basically we have different types of graphic cards. I take an example of NVIDIA. So NVIDIA has 2 types of graphic cards, which is GeForce and a Quadro. So it is very important to choose wisely a graphic card for your video production. So these types of graphic cards are designed for their own purposes. For example, Photoshop is designed for photo editing, and Illustration is for vector-based editing. So you cannot edit a photo in Illustration. Same wise, GeForce is designed for gaming and experiences, and Quadro is designed for video processing. So I highly prefer to use a Quadro graphic card to do your video processing. And for the Mac users who cannot put a graphic card inside on their own, we have Blackmagic Designs eGPU. We have 2 types of graphic card. One is eGPU and eGPU Pro, which runs an AMD Radeon Pro. Both connects with an Thunderbolt 3 connectivity. Most of the Macs nowadays are having Thunderbolt 3 connectivity, so they can attach their eGPU, and it is multipliable. It doesn't only support your Davinci Resolve, it supports the whole Mac system as an external graphic card. You can also use it for gaming and other softwares as well, capture and playback devices. So this applies to editors as well as color grading artists. So basically you are the artist, and you have a user interface monitor, and you need a proper color calibrated high-end monitor. For example, you are grading for cinema, so which means your monitor should support P3 gamut. And if you're going for a, let's say, Amazon or Netflix kind of content, and they ask you Dolby Vision or HDR, your color grading monitor should support the HDR and Dolby Vision, which is Rec 2020 and PQ curve. So for those things, you need a capture and playback device, which you will put inside your system, either it is Mac or Windows or Linux. So we have different configurations like TechLink, Ultra Studio. So where you can use it, and you can get a proper output, proper previewing output. For example, you need a 4K output or a HD output, or even a stereoscopic output. So all the editing systems or color grading systems will be having a capture and playback. Wherever you see a projector, it is through a capture and playback only. Display. So what kind of display you are going to use? For user interface, it is okay to use any kind of display. But mostly I prefer to at least use a 27-inch monitor for a user interface, at least a 32-inch display for a color grading, proper color grading monitor. So about color grading and about the gamuts, about color spaces, so we'll see that later or maybe in another video. And if you want some guidance, or if you want to have a preview or what are the things that I can have, you can always go to Blackmagic Design website, and in support page you have a configuration guide which has a complete list of graphic cards, processors, motherboards, even starting from iMacs to supercomputer configurations. Everything is inside this, and you can have a reference also. So these are the major things you need to consider before building up a workstation. I'm not saying you need to do all these things, but I'm saying you need to have these things in mind before building a workstation.